Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of LTF. Today we're doing a bit of a different episode. John is still with us as usual. How are you doing, John?
No, you can't get it doing that easily, Chris. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're having a good weekend. I hope you're going to have a good weekend as well, everybody. It's great to be back, and I'm on the other side of the fence this week. Wasn't a great week for me as a commentator last week. One game, a dull 0-0 draw, and I belted up so much half an hour before I got everybody.
Was it by any chance the 0-0 that I predicted between Burnley and Huddersfield by any chance?
It was actually. Yes, it was. I belted up as some kind of great game, and then it turned out to be an absolute damn squid of a match, unfortunately. And I ended up flat on my face, unfortunately, and I feel a little bit.
That's the job of commentary for you, I suppose.
Yes,
not always at crackers. There is the poor old chap who's at the match where there are no shots on target from either side, sort of thing. But that wasn't the case. But there's always somebody across the weekend who gets the short end of the stick when it comes to matches. But anyway, I said this episode was going to be a little bit different because we are going to do our Premier League predictions as per usual, but we're not actually going to talk about the matches per se. We're going to post our predictions to each other via Skype. You will see it on screen, obviously through the magic of editing. We'll see what we have similar, obviously what we agree on, and anything that we perhaps have any differences about. Obviously, we'll talk about, and obviously talk about what we've agreed on. Because if we're bang on a lot of the score lines, then perhaps we could say why. Or if it's just a no-brainer, then we won't need to do much talking about it. But John's already posted his prediction on my Skype chat, which I haven't looked at yet. I've got it hidden, but I'm about to hit enter, and we shall see what we have. It's an interesting weekend. You've got games like Chelsea, Man City, which should be an interesting one for the top of the table. You've got Manchester United facing Crystal Palace at Old Trafford. See whether Palace can actually get a goal. It's an interesting one. You've also got the potential entertainment match of the weekend, Bournemouth-Leicester. Both those teams love to score plenty of goals. Our beloved Burnley are going to Everton, who at present are drawing in the Europa League now. They were behind early on, but they've equalised thanks to a gift. And then you've also got the small matter of Rafa Benitez going up against Liverpool at St James's Park. But I'm going to hit enter. John's going to then see my predictions. I'm going to be able to see his, and you're going to be able to see both our predictions on screen. And then we will talk about what we have the same and different. So here we go, John. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. Bang. There's my predictions. And we're both identical when it comes to Huddersfield Spurs. We both seem to think the Spurs are going to win that one.
Yeah.
Very close on Bournemouth Leicester. You're backing. We've both gone for identical 5-0 against Palace.
Yeah.
We've both backed Stoke to beat Southampton, although by a slightly different scoreline. This is where we differ now. So West Brom, you've got beating Watford.
I've gone for home win.
Whereas I've gone for Watford winning away. Watford on my sleeper team this year. I think they're going to do really well. I think they've been doing impressive. But we'll continue going down the scorelines. West Ham, you've backed West Ham for the victory in a slightly more cleaner fashion. And anyway, going back to it, I was very tempted to go for 2-2 between Chelsea and City, but I just get the sense a home advantage for the champions. We'll get them over the line. You've gone for Arsenal to absolutely blitz Brighton. I'm up for the slightly more, 3-0. It's a potential banana skin. You've gone. Oh, you've got pessimist in the Everton Burnley game for me, and the optimist in John going for a draw. And
why not? I mean, why not, Chris? Because we've had a good start on the road, haven't we? I mean, we've taken 5 points off 3 big teams in Chelsea, Tottenham, and Liverpool, and we didn't expect to get anything. We don't expect to get anything from Everton. We can keep Wayne Rooney and Mr. Sigurdsson quiet. We'll get a point. There's no problem with that. I've got no fears.
And keeping Michael Keane quiet from set pieces.
Yes.
And you've backed Rafa Benitez to beat his old team, Liverpool. That's an interesting. Right.
I just fancy them.
They're in a rich vein of form right now. Right. Let's talk about obviously the main difference. One that I want to talk about is West Brom Watford. how we've both swung it in 3-1, but in opposite ways. I think. No, you've gone 2-1 to West Brom.
Yeah.
I'll let you. What have you gone for that one in particular? I know they're good at home.
Well, my reasoning is, Tony Pulis, they were unlucky against Arsenal. They played very well. They should have had a penalty when Jay Rod was taken out.
Can I just say, right, I'm sat there watching Jay Rodriguez rip Arsenal a new one, and I'm just sat there like, he should be in a Burnley shirt. I'm not going to let that slide. But, he absolutely tore them a new one. He should have had a stonewall penalty given to him.
Yes,
but because,
that's what I was going to allude to.
I hate this phrase, too honest. It's BS. I'm not going to swear, but they're very close. There's no such thing. If it's a penalty, it's a penalty. It doesn't matter whether the bloke gets back up or not really quick. If he gets wiped out with his shirt pulled or whatever, it's a penalty. I know that watching on the replays that Koscielny was blocking the referee's view, but there is a linesman the opposite side of the pitch you can also see. And then there's obviously the calls for video technology. In that sense, all you need to do is manager goes, I want to use, say they get 3 appeals. I want to use an appeal. Go look at the TV. You tell me why that isn't a penalty, and then if he says why it isn't a penalty or why it isn't, then obviously they then get the penalty, and the game obviously changes because West Brom you would imagine would score from it. But yeah, West Brom, I can understand from that sense why you would back West Brom based on how well they played at Arsenal.
I do want to talk a bit more about it, the reasoning and stuff. They absolutely, they made Arsenal work for the victory as well. Okay, the penalty and this too honest stuff, it is a lot of bull. Let's put it that way. I'll probably get censored for that now, but never mind.
You're just making my editing task a lot harder.
Anyway, back to the reasoning. You know what you're going to get with Tony Pulis, especially at home. He's done it for many years at Stoke. He's done it for many years now at West Brom and all that. Right? He's never been relegated from the Premier League. He's such a tactical stroke. He pulled. To be fair, when he went to Burnley and did the 1-0 job on us, you've got to admit he got it spot on tactically.
Yeah, he did.
He started just like Wagner did in that match at Turf Moor last Saturday, because he doubled up on Arfield and Brady and kept them quiet. Back to this game, I think Watford, and I'm still not convinced with Watford on the way. I know they've had a couple of good results on the road and 1 or 2 other bits, but they've still, they've got back. To be fair, they've come back up. They've come off the canvas and won against Swansea and won well after being bit for 6. But West Brom, totally different proposition to what Swansea are, and that's my reason. I think West Brom will pick them up on the counter-attack, because Watford will try and go all at it. That's for sure. They do like to attack Watford. There's no doubt about that. They're one of the more entertaining and the more enterprising sides. I think they've got a very enterprising manager in Marco Silva. I just don't think on the day, I think West Brom will just have that too much more know-how to get the result rather than Watford will. And I think that's why I back West Brom for the victory, because they know how to win at home and they know how to win ugly.
It's a fair comment. So I just think that the way that Watford have been playing recently, they've been playing really good, entertaining football.
Well.
They've gelled really well as a team. Even Andre Gray scoring is sort of, he scored his first goal last weekend. It's starting to show that
his customary goal against Swansea that now, isn't it? He got 2 last year for us, and now he's got another one for the Watford. And
the fact that he was very quiet in his first few games, so now that he's starting to come into the main picture, I just think that the signings that they made, and as I say, the way that they're playing, I do think that they can finish top 8 this season. I do seriously think that, and I just think that this is one of those games where if they are to compete for that 8th position or even 7th, should Everton continue their rather awful form right now in the league. I know they picked up a result last weekend, but it's not been plain sailing for them. They could finish 7th. If they are to do that, this is one of those games which you would have to pick up at least a point, but you'd be looking to pick up all 3 in that regard. But I just think they're full of confidence right now, Watford, and I think it'll show going into the West Brom game. Well, hopefully. Could be proved completely wrong. We both could be wrong, and they could draw 0-0, and that would be rather embarrassing. But either way, it would show us that we would both be completely wrong. The other ones, I suppose, we've both matched for the Huddersfield Spurs scoreline. Bournemouth, Leicester, we both expect to be similar. Obviously, you've backed Leicester for the away victory. Is that anything that just stands out? Do you think?
I believe that Bournemouth are very much attack-minded. They will bomb forward. Any else team, I've said this time and time again on this programme, they bomb forward and bomb forward and bomb forward, and they haven't had the results. Go for it, because I think they're very lethargic at the back at the moment, Bournemouth. I don't think they've strengthened enough in that department in defence. And I think they've been found wanting on quite a number of occasions. They were found wanting against Everton. They had the game in the pocket against Everton, but just buckled under the pressure from Everton. And this is why I fear for Bournemouth this year. I really do now, because they've had a few games. I love Eddie Howe. He's an ex-Burnley manager. I want him to do well, apart from when he plays us, of course. But I think Leicester showed what I saw against Liverpool. They showed a lot of character despite losing, to almost get something out of the game, which looked beyond them at one stage, because when Liverpool went 3-1 up, you thought, OK, Leicester are out of this now, aren't they, even at the KP. They got back into it, and then...
I mean, they did miss a penalty as well, didn't they? So
yeah, well, Vardy was found out this time, wasn't he? He always goes down the centre, doesn't he?
He is carrying an injury as well, though. That's why he hasn't been picked, just briefly touching on the England squad, he hasn't been picked for the England squad because he's going to have an injection in his foot, which... will rule him out for the England games, but he's still carrying an injury as such. So
it doesn't matter. We've got Harry Kane anyway.
We should be fine.
It's not a great loss. No disrespect to the Leicester fans and Jamie Vardy himself, but I still fancy Leicester. I think they've been playing well, but just haven't got the results that I think the performances have deserved. And I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be today. I think today's going to be the day where I think Leicester will start proving to everybody that they are a very good side and they are worthy of 3 points. And I think they've threatened it. I think they'll beat the lesser sides, like your Bournemouth and your Palaces and things like that. I think they will struggle against the bigger team because I think they've lost some key players, of course. But if they can keep Mahrez and Vardy fit, and Okazaki always comes in and he does a good job. So I've got no qualms about Leicester still winning, despite the problems with Vardy. I would still back them for the victory, and because they've got that character and team spirit, and they will pick Bournemouth up on the break. There's no doubt about it. But Jermaine Defoe's probably going to be their threat. But I just think with Bournemouth's fragile defence, that could be a real problem for Eddie Howe. I really do think, and that's why I back Leicester to win.
Yeah, I mean, I've got them down as 2-2 because I just think they're both going to be. It's going to be a whirlwind of a match, and I just think both teams will raise their game. The atmosphere will be mental. I mean, I just can't split them. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Leicester did get the victory because on paper Leicester are probably the better side, but it's, as we all know, football's not played on paper; it's played on grass.
But also one player we've overlooked is. In a nutshell, the £25 million man for Man City. I think I think it could be his turn to make his mark now with Vardy out the frame. Maybe.
Perhaps. I mean, Southgate said that he wouldn't be surprised if Vardy played, so it depends on that, I suppose. But it'll be a fun match to watch either way. I think for the neutrals, that's probably along with the Chelsea Man City game later on. That'll probably be a very good day's viewing if you watch those two. Then obviously we both move into other scorelines. We got United Palace. Obviously, we both got it down as a 5-0 to United. I think after what City did to them the other day and the way the Palace are playing right now, that's a bit of a. I wouldn't say it's a no-brainer. That's probably a little bit disrespectful, but obviously we haven't seen anything to suggest otherwise. Stoke, Southampton. We've both got slightly different scorelines. Although we've both backed Stoke for the victory in that one. I think just the way that both teams have started the season, Stoke have started the better of the two. I think it's fair to say. Could you argue with that?
Not really. I mean Stoke have had a couple of awful bad results, obviously, but
they've had some tough teams to face, though.
They are, and I think once, I mean, they were soundly beaten against Chelsea. To be fair, I mean, it was against a very, very rampant Chelsea side. Morata was just unplayable. But against Arsenal and Manchester United, they have picked up some very valuable at home. But the only thing is, their away form I think needs to improve a bit. Otherwise, they could be in the lower mid-table reaches. So I think the away form needs to improve a tad. If they really do have ambitions of being a top 10 team this time round, because I think, because
I'd probably say that's the aim for them this season, top 10 for Stoke, you would think.
Yeah, I think that would be very reasonable. They finished 13th last year, which I thought for Stoke was very low, but there were only 2 points. It was a very tight.
It was very tight, yeah. So.
Yeah, you can't really criticise them too much, despite the 13th place finish, because on another year that would have got them neither 9th or 10th in the league. So so they're about where they are now. I think they're about right. I think Jesse Rodriguez is doing well. Choupo-Moting is having a good start to the season, scoring them 2 goals against Manchester United. Once they're firing on all cylinders, I think Stoke will shoot a bit more up the table, get more points on the board, win a few away games. I think they'll be fine. As for Southampton, they don't know when to score. They don't know how to score goals at the moment. I know Charlie Austin is still coming back from his injury, and I think it'll be a relief to Pellegrino when he gets him fit. Because he's going to be crucial for Southampton's chances this season. He really is. They haven't. They got a good victory against Crystal Palace the other week. I don't know how they did. I forget what they did last time out, but no, they lost to Manchester United. But they only lost narrowly, which is probably a bit. As deft as this sounds, they actually gave Manchester one hell of a hard game, and they should. Despite losing, I think they'll take a lot of confidence from that. But with Stoke's record up in the Potteries, and I'm going to say the Potteries because we don't want another argument about the stadium like we had last week. It was all good-natured, of course, on this programme, by the way. I just think this could be a very too much of a tough excitement, considering their lack of goal scorer at the moment. Gabbiadini's trying his heart out, but he isn't getting the breaks. I just think it's going to be a tough day, and I think that's why I think we have to agree on Stoke for the victory, because they can grind out the results down up there as Potteries, Southampton. I don't know how good they are away from home. I mean, they grounded out that result against Crystal Palace, of course, but Palace lacked any ideas in the match, which probably made Southampton probably win by more than the 1-goal scoreline actually suggested. But I think it's going to be a long haul season for Southampton until they get Charlie Austin back. If he keeps on firing, their season will pick up. I've no doubt about that. If they can't start, they need to start scoring goals soon, though. Otherwise, it could be a long haul winter for them.
The other scores that we slightly differ on, I mean, we've both backed West Ham to beat Swansea. You by a slightly more clear margin than myself, but I think we can both agree that their performance against Spurs, once they're against 10 men, was certainly encouraging, and I think if they play like that against Swansea, they will get the result. Then obviously you've got Chelsea, Man City, and bit of role reversals here. Your dog is snoring incredibly loud.
I apologise for that.
It's alright. It's fine.
I think it should be the Chris, John and Bonnie show, actually.
Yeah, that's fine. But Chelsea, Man City, I went for 3-2. You went for 2-2. Bit like role reversal for the Bournemouth Leicester game.
I just can't separate the two teams. I think on paper they're similar. They're in good form. I just think it'll be a great game.
Yeah.
The neutral, and I would enjoy. I mean, it's a game I would love to commentate on, and in fact, I might actually do that match on Saturday. I'm just toying between doing that because I'm going to do a match this afternoon where it's a toss-up between the Huddersfield Tottenham match at 5:30, and I can't decide at the moment, but I will decide nearer the time what game I'm going to do for the JB Clark YouTube channel. So I'm going to do a double header because I missed out on the chance of commentating on the Champions League for obvious reasons, FIFA 18 and all that jazz.
Yeah.
So
priorities.
I think it's about time I owe my subscribers a double header of football commentaries this weekend. So I own that much. So but I can't choose between them because I think they're both scoring goals for fun.
Yeah.
They look. I think the two entertaining teams. I just think it's going to be the day where Man City's winning run is just going to come to an end. They're not going to lose the game. I think they'll get a point. I think both teams will probably end up with a point apiece, and that will be about right. And then Man United will lead up the league. I am tipping Manchester United at the end of the day, Chris. So
yes. Well,
yes.
The way I see it, there's quite a few things you've got to think about. I mean, I think the form that Morata is in right now, I think to be honest, I think he's more effective than Aguero is. It's a bold statement, I know.
And arguably Costa. And Chelsea nicked a good win the other night in the Champions League, right at the end.
Yes, they did.
Good against all the odds. And wasn't Morata the goal scorer in that one as well?
He was. Morata scored, and then Batshuayi scored the 94th minute goal. Now they've clearly... they've clearly got a good striker rotation going on between those two. But to me, the major difference, I think... it's going to be fairly even defensively, I think, because obviously David Luiz is suspended, but City aren't the most. I say they aren't the most solid at the back. Their goalkeeper was Edison, I think is his name. He's been in reasonably good form, despite the fact that he got a kick to the face from Mane. Certainly an improvement on Willy Caballero and Claudio Bravo, yes.
Bravo!
And by the looks of things, an improvement on Joe Hart as well, based on what's happened this season. But it's going to be very close. But I do just feel like Morata is going to be the difference. And obviously, Chelsea being at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea at Stamford Bridge is a really, really tough prospect for any team. Even against 10 men, or even in our case 9, because Morata appears to make up for 2. Plus N'Golo Kante, if you include all the memes for him, he's worth at least half a team. But I just get the feeling that the Stamford Bridge is going to have an effect, it being there, and Morata, I'm sure he'll score, because him and Aguero is whoever comes out on top versus their versus each other's defences between Morata and Aguero. I think will decide which way the match goes. Quite frankly, it is going to be probably the best game of the day, barring Bournemouth Leicester, or they could both be crackers, which would be brilliant for everyone. But I just get the feeling that this is where Manchester United are going to get a little bit of separation, thanks to Chelsea. But then obviously Chelsea will be hot on United's heels, because obviously whoever wins this either goes second or top if you're City, depending on how the goal difference goes. But obviously with United winning 5-0 again, should that go to plan, there'll be a long way ahead in goal difference. But it's going to be a cracking match, and I just get the feeling the home advantage, and whoever gets the better out of Morata and Aguero, it will decide. And who knows, maybe Batshuayi might make a difference from the subs bench. I'm not sure how much City have in terms of the strike force from the bench. I know Gabriel Jesus can have an effect, but we shall see. But that's the other one that we really pointed out. Arsenal, Brighton. We've both got Arsenal winning. You've gone for 5-1. I've gone for the slightly more respectable and probably, I say more likely because it's a game that Arsenal should win by a long distance based on what we've all seen. But Arsenal will know how to make it difficult somehow. We briefly touched on Everton, Burnley. Obviously, I've gone for the pessimistic and probably, in some people's eyes, the more realistic result of Everton winning 2-1. That's just me probably being pessimistic. You've gone for a 1-1 draw, which is perfectly reasonable as well, because away from home we've been terrific.
Yes.
So not really much to say on that, I suppose. One to watch, I suppose.
Well, there is one more thing I should point out. That is that is our Clarets live offering on Sunday afternoon from about 2 o'clock. Join me in the commentary box for that one. 2 o'clock. JB Claret YouTube channel. Everton against Burnley. The Clarets match live. Be there or be square.
Yes, and then lastly, Newcastle-Liverpool, which has always been a cracker in the past. They've always had incredible games, whether it be the Keegan era or now, which we've both got 2 interesting scorelines. I've gone for 2-2, thinking that obviously Liverpool can't keep a clean sheet to save their life, but have plenty of firepower up front, although their performance in the Champions League left a lot to be desired, which is probably why you've based your prediction as 3-2, which again is perfectly feasible. Rafa getting one over his old club. You've gone for?
I've got a feeling. Right, I think a lot of people have summed Liverpool up as this: they've got a Champions League attack, but a Championship defence. I think absolutely brilliant. You look at what Klopp's old mate David Wagner has done at Huddersfield. Yeah. He has got 2 centre backs, right, and they kept nullified Burnley's attack all the way. They were superb, and he got them at the fraction of the price from Bundesliga 2, right? Whereas Klopp's defence has been absolutely leaky as hell, and they cost 3 times as much as what Wagner bought for Huddersfield. And they were playing Championship football. Christopher Schindler for Huddersfield had Chris Wood in his back pocket last week. He was absolutely superb, arguably man in the match. Whereas Liverpool's defence just don't know what to do with it. They're 6s and 7s. Their zonal marking is awful. Absolutely awful. And I expected bigger things this year from Liverpool. I really did. I fancied them to have a go in at least the League Cup. They didn't last too long in that. They were, in my opinion, to get away with a 3-2 win. Because let's be fair, Leicester were unlucky not to get a point from that game on Saturday. It was a great game, but if it wasn't for Mignolet's save, that would have been a draw, and it would have dropped them 2 points. So they were lucky to get away with a 3-2. As you said, the Champions League performance has been a bit up and down. Yeah, they're still unbeaten, but they've drawn 2 games. And especially, I think the one against Seville where they had a 2-goal lead and blew it. It's just, this is what could come back to haunt Liverpool in the long run.
Well, they didn't get Van Dijk in the window, did they? And they clearly didn't have a backup plan if they didn't get him. But the thing, go on.
I think Klopp had his heart set on that one centre back, and that was the problem. And also, the other reason why I think Newcastle will do it, I know they haven't got a good squad on paper, and I know their squad is a bit paper thin, but Rafa is getting the best out of what he's got. Yeah. That Hoster looks a good player. They were unlucky to lose against Brighton because they created a lot of chances in that match, and they were lucky. They're also aside on that. Tara Ahmed has been banned for 3 games, rightfully so. That was an awful stamp. Yeah. Getting back to the Newcastle game, I think at home with the Geordies behind them, the Toon Army, 50,000, the Gallagher end in full swing. I can see Newcastle doing it, and Rafa Benitez, he will be wanting extra he'll want to be motivating himself to beat his old team, because he'll think, right, Liverpool are coming, let's see what we're made of, let's go out there and surprise them. And he will know how leaky that Liverpool defence is, and he will cook up some good tactic to penetrate that. That's why I'm fancying Newcastle to win 3-2. I just think Benitez might, because he's a good tactician, Benitez, we all know this, and I think he'll get it right, and I think he'll get the tactics spot on for this game. And with them Geordies behind them, they've got every chance.
Yes. But that's the predictions for the league games done, which we've done a little bit quicker than usual because obviously we haven't had to talk in depth about particular games. But if anyone has other ideas as to what the scores are going to be, feel free to post them below. But now we're going to move on to the latest thing, which is the England squad announcements. I mean, I say it's latest. We're recording on the Thursday, so whether Dele Alli is still in the squad, we don't know. If he has been banned or not, then obviously he won't be. But we've had the England squad announcements, and it's a pretty interesting one. You've got Fabian Delph recalled to the squad, which I think is just farcical, because we've got another situation where yet again somebody who isn't playing. I mean, we talk about the Jack Wilshere going to the Euros a year or so ago after playing not even the possibility of he didn't play enough minutes to add up to a full match across the season. Delph has barely played. Obviously Fraser Forster has been called up to replace the injured Tom Heaton. He can't play with a dislocated shoulder, but we'll get the squad up in full here. So you've got 4 goalkeepers still, which I still don't understand. In Joe Hart, definitely one I don't understand. Fraser Forster, Jack Lott and Jordan Pickford. Then you've got Ryan Bertrand, Aaron Cresswell, Gary Cahill, Phil Jones, Harry Maguire, John Stones, Michael Keane, Chris Smalling, Kyle Walker, Kieran Trippier, Eric Dyer. Then comes the questionable Fabian Delph. Then you've got Jake Livermore.
I'll tell you what's an even bigger questionable, before we carry on. Daniel Sturridge. Why is he in the squad?
Yeah, I was going to get to him. You
carry on, and we'll touch on that later.
Jake Livermore, Jordan Henderson, Raheem Sterling, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, which is one I don't understand. Jesse Lingard as well. Dele Alli obviously is possibly not going to be in the squad. Marcus Rashford, pretty much a no-brainer. Harry Kane, definitely a no-brainer. Jermaine Defoe, I mean,
Not bad.
Not a bad choice. We don't have many better choices, to be honest, at the moment, based on everyone's injuries and, as you've just mentioned, Daniel Sturridge. Now, where do we start? I mean, you wanted to start with Daniel Sturridge. Go ahead.
Well, I don't understand why he's in the squad, because his form for Liverpool has been poor. I just don't understand the reasoning behind it. Unless Southgate has run out of fit strikers, why?
Possibly.
I just think, has he run out of strikers? I don't know, but he's not a form player.
Well, he probably would have picked Vardy ahead of him. So
I'm certain of it. That's the only reason Sturridge is in there. He's got him through the back door. He's not good enough. He's not been good enough this season. He's been nowhere near good enough for the last 2 or 3 years. Yes, he's been injury prone. Yes, he has scored important goals for England. But the guy is out of form. And how many more times are we going to end up picking out of form players? I'm so upset about this. It's another bloody yes man in charge of this shambles that is the England football team, and it is a shambles. Let me give it to you straight. Enough is enough as far as I'm concerned. It's just I don't know, mate. I really don't know, because if I'm being completely and utterly frank with you, I don't know what Southgate is doing. I also agree with you on Fabian Delph. He's not even been in the City team a lot due to former bubbers, and then the oddball selection of 4 goalkeepers when 3 of them aren't blatantly going to be used.
Yeah,
is an absolute disgrace.
You don't need more than 3 in a squad for starters. So
no,
I can understand them calling up Fraser Forster to replace Tom Heaton, but he should be replacing Joe Hart, who shouldn't be in the squad at all. Joe Hart, for me, right, I don't know how he keeps getting selected, because maybe it's because he's the most senior player. I don't know, because he's got the most caps out of this bunch of players. But it's just, the guy has conceded more goals than anyone else in the Premier League, barring Crystal Palace. I mean, yes, a goalkeeper is just as good as his defence. His defence has got to help him a bit as well.
I was going to make that point.
Totally understand that, being a flipping ex-goalkeeper myself. And, you can only do so much. But there are shots that have beaten him that he should be saving. And it's just, he doesn't have any confidence. And he's not in form, which, continuing to pick him, whether that's a thing for his confidence, quite frankly, Southgate shouldn't be concerned about his confidence, because you should be picked on the squad based on the fact that you're playing well, which means you're confident. But his selection baffles me when you've got, right now, Joe Hart is holding back the development in terms of England players of Jack Butland and Jordan Pickford. Those 2 goalkeepers, really. I mean, no disrespect to Tom Heaton. He's the same age as Joe Hart. He's not going to be England long term unless he has like a really good spell for the next 4 or 5 years. I know goalkeepers can be late bloomers, as they last a lot longer in the business. Fraser Forster, I don't know. He looks like a quality goalkeeper, but he's sort of stagnated a little bit, especially the last couple of seasons. He hasn't been the best. But in terms of Jack Butland and Jordan Pickford, those 2 really are the guys that are going to be taking us forward in the goalkeeping department. And the way that Jack Butland's been playing since his return from injury, he should be the first choice without a shadow of a doubt every time for me.
Yeah.
He's a brilliant goalkeeper on his day, and if we're looking to progress this England team from the failure that was Euro 2016, it was a complete and utter total failure. You needed to rip out the main problems. One of them was Joe Hart, for goodness sake. The goal against Wales and one of them against Iceland, for goodness sake. He was the culprit for had he not bottled it against Wales, we might have, we did. I can't even remember. Did we win our group?
We finished second.
We finished second.
We beat Wales, but we drew the other 2. We drew against Russia. We drew against Slovenia, if I remember rightly. And the Slovenia game was an absolute dire straits. No frills, no.
We ended up lucking out against Iceland, which luck out or whatever. It was lucky because we would have been totally and utterly annihilated by any other team in the draw, whereas Iceland just embarrassed us.
They didn't just embarrass us; they outplayed us.
Yeah, they were better, and if Joe Hart was one of the reasons. If he hadn't have messed up against Wales, and then obviously he messed up against Iceland, we were in the position because of Hart's mistake, and then Hart had made another mistake, which puts us in an even worse position. So getting rid of him, along with Wayne Rooney, I will be patient with Southgate because he got rid of Rooney. He immediately identified one of the main problems, which is get rid of this last guy that is clinging to that golden generation tag. I know he came in late; he was one of the last ones. Obviously, turning up at Euro, the Rooney that turned up at Euro 2004 will never be seen again. Quite frankly, because that Wayne Rooney was, touted to be the next Ronaldo, sort of. But getting rid of him. Getting rid of Rooney was a great thing for Southgate, and it's bought him time with a lot of fans, myself included. But he needs to realise that Joe Hart is now the next one who needs to face the axe, because he's holding the team back by being in goal. Because he's conceding silly goals in the league. His confidence is shot, and he just doesn't deserve to be in the squad based on how well he's been playing. We constantly say, every England fan says, you should be called up to the England squad based on performance and form, not on reputation and the club you play for. Because a lot of these players are getting into the squad, like Daniel Sturridge, for instance, because he plays for Liverpool. It shouldn't be in the squad. Yes, Jesse Lingard, he's good. Don't get me wrong, but has his form recently done enough to get into the England squad?
No,
I'm not so sure. But he plays for United, so get him in the team. It's that sort of thing. That bugs me. I mean, the selection of Jake Livermore. I mean, a lot of people are saying, yeah, he's not good enough. Well, he's been playing reasonable in the middle of the park, and quite frankly, the options that we have in the middle are diabolical. When Jordan Henderson is your best centre midfielder, no disrespect to Henderson or anything, but from used to having Paul Scholes, Stephen Gerrard, Frank Lampard, and Owen Hargreaves as our main selection in the middle. It's certainly, and Michael Carrick, who is still playing, by the way, Southgate. You could get him on the phone, because quite frankly, he's probably better than what we've picked. Although, whether it fits your boring style, I don't know. Because the style we play is definitely something that Southgate needs to address. If he wants to keep people interested in watching England, he's doing a really bad job of it, because when you watch England, there is absolutely no passion or excitement. I find it. I really struggle to watch England and enjoy myself, because they either frustrate the hell out of me or I'm bored, because it's just pass round the back to the middle. Oh look, we can't go forward. Let's go back round to the back. Give Cahill and Jones the ball. Why the hell is Phil Jones in the squad? By the way, I mean that guy's. Is it because of his impressive facial expressions? I mean, come on. I mean, I suppose other people could say, name another English centre-back who's been doing well. I'll name you one, Lascelles. He should be in the squad. His performances for Newcastle recently.
Good call.
He's a young lad. He's captain of Newcastle as well. He's up and coming. He's been in tremendous form. He's been a danger from set pieces. Imagining him and Michael Keane as the future centre-back partnership would be quite the thing. Forget John Stones. Bugger him. He doesn't know. He doesn't get his priorities correct. Pass first, clear later is his approach, and it's not working for him. It's too silly. And then why Lascelles wasn't picked, I don't know. Because he plays for Newcastle. I mean, Newcastle are a big club. Don't get me wrong, but they're fresh out of the Championship. That's probably why he hasn't been picked. It's just bugs me that there's a lot of reputation being bandied around when it comes to selection, and not based on form, and it annoys a hell of a lot of England fans. And I dare say, if I was to hit the view comments on the BBC article that I'm reading it from, I dare say a lot of them are probably saying the same thing. I mean, anyone else that you might want to call out? I mean, I haven't even mentioned Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain yet, who... Yeah,
well, I'll have my 2 pennants now on the England squad. I think it's
I mean, you've mentioned Sturridge, so anyone...
So I'll name a few. I don't think you mentioned Lingard, nowhere near for me. There are better players. I can't understand why Andros Townsend. Yeah, I think Townsend has had a good start to the season personally. Okay, yep. Crystal Palace have had an awful start, but Townsend against Burnley, and I watched him live. He was ripping the heart out of. He was attacking Burnley. He was going at it. He could have arguably had 2 goals on the day. He played absolutely brilliant and arguably could have been man of the match. He absolutely had a great game. Even if he's had a good start to the season personally, I think he's probably the only one out of that Palace team who are actually trying.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I think
him and Loftus-Cheek. Loftus-Cheek has been tremendous for them as well.
Loftus-Cheek, another player left out. What is going on? I mean, you've got 2 good players there at Crystal Palace. Okay, they're having a bad trot at the moment under Roy Hodgson and all that lot, but they're still good players, and I can't understand that. Jamal Lascelles, great defender, he scored some crucial goals for Newcastle this season. He has been sidelined again. I just don't understand it. As Joe Hart is holding back the team. People like Jesse Lingard do not deserve an opportunity in the team. They're not. I don't think Jesse Lingard is clearly good enough. I don't think he's good enough actually. I think he's a terrible player. Sturridge, I've already touched on. Chamberlain.
Let me. Sorry, I'm just gonna. OxladeChamberlain became a meme. He literally did. There was a video that surfaced on the wonderful piece of internet of OxladeChamberlain playing against Leicester in the FA Cup. Right? I'm not FA Cup, the Carabao Cup. And I'm sure people will have seen it. Some people may have seen it, others won't. But basically, it summarised what OxladeChamberlain was doing. He's been horrendous this season. Ever since he, funnily enough, the drumming that he received from Liverpool when he was at Arsenal, he was pretty diabolical in that match. His first match then, obviously that was the Man City game, and then his game against Leicester, the guy couldn't dribble, he couldn't pass, he couldn't cross the ball from a corner, a dead ball. He couldn't cross it, couldn't take people on. He's been horrendous. Literally, I don't know what's gone wrong with him, because a season or so ago, he was reminding me of an old Wayne Rooney. He wasn't afraid to take players on. He had pace, he had skill, everything. This season, I don't know what's gone on with him, but he's just not on the boil. And based on form, this is another big reputation player because he plays for Liverpool. He's getting picks. He plays for Liverpool. He'll be all right. He won't do too badly in an English shirt. To be fair to Ox, he doesn't do too badly for England. But as we say, his performances for club football is what gets you picked. If you're going to pick players on their performances for England, Peter Crouch would still be in the lineup because that guy's got a stupid goal per game ratio. Peter Crouch, but that's just what would be going on. But a lot of people are just going on about too many players being picked on reputation, and some people calling for Carrick to come back. Another thing mentionable, obviously. Gareth Barry. I mean, God, the guy.
Exactly. He might be, as I was saying, 36 years old. He is the ultimate professional. And I'll tell you what, he is not like these prima donnas that we have now playing for England. He will give pride to the England shirt. He's given pride to the clubs that he's given, where he's played for Aston Villa, Manchester City, Everton, and even this season West Brom, where he's now broken Ryan Giggs' Premier League record. Absolutely, appearance record. Superb achievement. Well done.
In the Premier League, people seem to forget that the fact that Ryan Giggs played 2 seasons before the Premier League was a thing.
He had 40 games in the old Division 1 between 1990 and 93.
Still got a way to go to beat Ryan Giggs in top flight appearances.
Indeed. But taking nothing away from Barry, he's had a magnificent career.
Exactly.
And I think England have discarded him too soon.
Yeah.
I think they discarded him too soon. I blame Roy Hodgson for that. But Gareth Southgate should be looking at people like Gareth Barry, set the example to people like Chamberlain, to people like Jesse Lingard, to show what football is all about. It's not just about being, the prima donna, being the big star sort of thing. It's all about hard work and a hard graft. And you've got people like Chamberlain who just think, oh well, we'll let the others do the graft. I'll just do all the fancy footwork and all the skills and everything like that. That's what's got me this big move. Well, absolute crap. Gareth Barry didn't get where he got today with all his England caps and his 2 league titles and his FA Cup or whatever by being a prima donna. He did it through hard graft, dedication. He was prepared to do the dirty stuff. He was prepared to walk on water, run through walls, everything. And that was the difference. We need a player like that. Same again. Michael Carrick, a leader of men on the field. Very good example off the field too for Manchester United.
I mean, would you pick them over Jordan Henderson?
Any day of the week. Because I'll tell you what, they'll show more passion. They might be old. If you're still good enough and you're old enough.
I mean, in this qualifying group, it'll be a piece of cake for them. Because even at their stage in their career, I still think they would be better than the group that we're in.
Because I'll tell you something, Chris, and this is no exaggeration of the truth here. Carrick and Barry have got more spirit in their little finger than what the likes of Henderson, Lingard, and OxladeChamberlain and Fabian Delph have all got. Absolute more spirit in their little finger. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm not having a jag. It's not a gag, I'm telling you now. It's God's honest truth. And Gareth Southgate is overlooking all this. I mean, you could argue that Ben Foster should be in the England squad.
Yeah, it's an argument to have.
Another player, again, missing out because of this reputation.
Because he plays for West Brom.
Plays for West Bromwich Albion, who are an established Premier League club, may I add, Southgate. Or have you not been? Or have you not been watching? Have you just been watching Man City, Man United, Liverpool, and all that lot?
I tell you what it is. They don't pull in the sponsorship money for players like that. I know. They're better advertisers. You think we're coming around to the time where England
another one that's been. Can I just say, Jay Rodriguez? He's been in exceptional form.
Start of the season has been terrific.
Left out of the squad.
Playing as a striker.
It's a joke. It's a joke. I'd rather have Rodriguez over Sturridge any day. And this is not me talking as a Burnley fan or the fact that he comes from Burnley. That's not clouding my judgment in any way, shape, or form.
Well, he was in the England setup before he got injured, wasn't he? So he was going to go to the World Cup, but he blew his knee out against Man City and stuff. Taken a while, but he's come back.
Yeah, he has had a new lease of life since going to West Brom. I mean, he might not have had. To be honest with you, I think he's at a good club in West Brom. He's got a good manager there, Tony Pulis, an excellent manager. And they'll be scratching their heads why he's not in that squad. Because
they'll be happy he's not in the squad because he won't get injured.
Tony Pulis will, but the man himself, Rodriguez, he won't. Because I'll tell you something, he is better than Sturridge on form. And again, he's got more spirit in his little finger than Daniel Sturridge has. He's one of those la-di-da types who turns up in his 58 with his 200 grand car and all this money and said, look at me, I'm playing for Liverpool, I'm playing for England, I might not be scoring goals, but I'm still getting picked. La 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 la. What a load of frigging bollocks. That Sturridge needs dropping. He's not getting the game time for Liverpool. He's not scoring the goals. He should be out.
Yeah, totally agree. Now, we touched on the Welsh just a moment ago in terms of Ryan Giggs. Little thing here, the Sheffield United winger David Brooks obviously represented England at the Under-20s World Cup, which England won. He is now recommitted to Wales. So the potential of bringing more English talent through. To be fair, he's playing for Sheffield United, so it's one of those arguments where, well, he wasn't playing in the top flight anyway, so it's not going to be a problem. But it's potentially an English youth player like Wilfried Zaha. I'm telling you right now, ever since he made his change to the Ivory Coast, it's like he's had a weight lifted off his shoulders because the expectation on English players when it comes to international football is outrageously high, and for youngsters, it's horrible to stand up to. So I could understand why he thought, well, I've won the World Cup with England, I might as well go do stuff with Wales now. I mean, he's recommitted. He was already committed to Wales beforehand, but we're going to see this if young players who can be linked with, say, Scotland or Wales, they're more likely to commit to them because they're going to stand more chance of being selected. Because as far as they're concerned, unless you're playing for your massive clubs or just playing in the Premier League, for goodness sake, to be English and playing is hard to do in this day and age. They're just going to go, well, you know what? I'm going to go play for the nation that will actually value me And despite the fact that I am playing, and they'll get international football, and I don't blame players for doing that. To be honest, I think to be honest, who'd want to play for England right now? They're awful. But yeah, more young players are going to do that if they have the opportunity, I feel. But I think that's just the state that we're in right now. But I think players like Loftus-Cheek would have deserved a call up. Calling on old souls, as I'll call them, in Barry and Carrick would have been a better move. And in terms of our striker options, based on the form at the start of the season, Jay Rodriguez has been incredible. He doesn't quite have as many goals to his name as perhaps he should, but he's still been playing incredible. And in terms of the goalkeeper scenario and the defender, basically the England squad that has been picked, Southgate could have picked better. He says, "Oh well, injuries. I haven't picked a squad that's as strong as I'd like." Well, you clearly weren't looking hard enough, Gareth. Quite clearly, but he doesn't have to worry about his job yet. I mean, he's not quite under the same amount of pressure as certain.
I'll tell you what, Chris. I'd like to know how much this bloody joker's been paid to manage our country, because I tell you what, if it's any higher than Roy Hodgson's salary, then the guy should not be in the job.
Yeah.
Because the fact that, put the Rooney thing aside, I don't give a monkey's what he did with Wayne Rooney. Okay.
If he hadn't dropped Rooney, say it had already happened, or he'd retired as such, then I probably wouldn't have been this patient with him. I probably would be in the same frame of mind as yourself, wanting him gone. But like I said, he's bought himself some time, basically the next tournament, to sort it out. Otherwise, I think, I would have thought that the guy who managed the under-21s, knows what talent's coming through, would have been the perfect guy to integrate them into the first team. But quite clearly, that's not happening, is it? I mean,
no.
Who's he brought from the under-21s into the first team other than Marcus Rashford, which was glaringly obvious that was going to happen anyway. Loftus-Cheek, for example, had a perfect opportunity to call him up this time because of his lack of midfield options. Doesn't pick him. Lascelles, I know he hasn't been in the under-21 setup for a while now, but would have been a good opportunity. Jack Butland, he will have known, obviously, because he's been young enough, and he's had plenty of opportunities. And obviously, you've got all these successful youth teams, that won the under-20s World Cup and everything like that. He could have looked at those and gone, looking at the group, are they any worse than who's in our group? Lithuania, Are there any better professionals at Lithuania? No. Not really. Would they give Scotland a good game? Quite possibly. The physicality might daunt them a little bit, but
definitely.
Would they have shown more passion than perhaps some of the players that represented us in that 2-2 draw? Quite possibly. And I dare say Harry Kane would have thrived off of the youth around him.
They will do. I mean, some of them have just won the World Cup with them. So
exactly. They feel unbeatable. But
the passion is. I think the passion is there. I just think that
it gets killed off by lack of game time and loads of money thrown at them. The point comes to when they get picked up by a big team and it's just like, oh, loads of money and I don't have to play. They lose their motivation really quickly in that case.
I don't just think it's an England. I don't think it's Southgate's problem. I think the FA. They will undoubtedly have selection meetings. Yeah, and then they will be told. And also with all this, I think the FA are an absolute disgrace at the moment. The way they're being run, I don't know. I never wanted Southgate here in the first place as England manager. I think
nobody really wanted him, did they?
No, they didn't. They didn't.
We all knew we were going to get him, but nobody wanted him.
The only reason he's been at a point because it's simply this: he's a yes man. He's not a proper manager. He failed miserably at Middlesbrough. Okay, he had a good little session with the under-21s. He had a good spell with them, but he took a Middlesbrough team that was going well under Steve McLaren, and within 3 years he wrecked it. They got relegated, and they got relegated so badly, it was untrue. It took them years to get back. That's how much he destroyed that football club, and I cannot. I mean, as much listen. I like Gareth Southgate. He was great as a player. He did magnificent things for England as a player.
He's good for the youth setup.
Yeah,
but he should stay that.
Exactly. I think Southgate, it should have been
I said it ages ago when the appointment was coming round. He doesn't have the authority to command players above the age of 21.
Wait, right. This is also, we can also blame Gareth Southgate, but we can also blame the FA here because this is this is a problem that's been going on for years. They picked the yes-men. They had a chance in the 1970s to appoint...
Sam Allardyce?
I'm going back 30, 40 years now. Right?
What, with Brian Clough?
They had an opportunity in 1977 when Don Revie quit England to take up a job in the United Arab Emirates. He quit England when he knew he couldn't qualify for the 1978 World Cup. Everybody and his dog wanted Brian Clough as the manager. Every pundit in the land, every commentator in the land said Brian Clough has to be the next England manager. He went for the talks, but him, Laurie McMenery, and I think Bobby Robson were interviewed. But all along, they went for Ron Greenwood, a safe pair of hands, a yes man. But Cloughy and Taylor, his assistant at the time, would have shook everything up. That's why they didn't get the job, because they would have wanted to run things their way, and that's what the England team need. They need a proper manager. They had a chance to appoint Harry Redknapp about 6 years ago.
I was just going to mention it. Would you have put Harry Redknapp under the same bracket?
I think Harry Redknapp would have made a fantastic England manager. He would have. First of all, he's no nonsense.
Obviously he's recently been sacked by Birmingham, but.
Yeah, but he wasn't given enough time. There are some owners that are so madcap. Birmingham.
They're a bit of a mess, Birmingham. So yeah.
Yeah, but I think they'll get a decent manager in Karanka, but that's not the point. The point is, Harry Redknapp was having a terrific run of form with Tottenham. Yeah, they weren't winning any silverware, but they were playing some very attractive football. They had Gareth Bale firing on all cylinders. Redknapp I thought was one of the best managers going at the time. I still think he's a very good manager, although he is
literally got cleared of this tax evasion, whatever it was at the time, as well.
Yeah, but that should not have...
I know, but he was cleared, so any kind of black marks that they could have had on him, oh, well, he might be a tax dodger, he got cleared of it. That was, they literally could hold nothing against him by that point to pick it.
Exactly. But they don't pick the best man for the job as a manager. Not, the
only time I feel like they did was Sam Allardyce, and they got rid of him. But yeah,
well, you know what happened? We don't cover that ground never again.
No.
But the point is, there are too many, and I have to say this, too many old-fashioned dinosaurs. And I say this because I said this the other year when we were talking about Roy Hodgson and all that lot and Southgate's appointment. There are a lot of people at the FA who are between the ages, there's probably about half the board of the Football Association who are aged between 60 and 85. That shows how out of touch the Football Association has become with modern football. Because when you've got 60 to 85-year-olds running the administration of the English game, not the Premier League, but the English game, the grassroots level, the academy level. The St George's Park, let's not kid ourselves, it's a great facility and all that, but that's basically painting over the cracks for me, the wider problem at the FA. It's absolutely disgraceful. The FA, needs to be abolished. It needs to be restarted. You need I think you don't need businessmen to run the FA. You need football people. People who played the game, the likes of David Beckham, Sir Bobby Charlton, them sort of people who played the game at the top level, Beckham, Gerrard, Lampard, all these players.
The same could be said for FIFA. We had the opportunity to have someone like, David Ginola. I know he pulled out in the end because of his own problems, but instead we hired, they picked somebody who never kicked a ball in his life.
To be honest with you, to be honest with you, I wasn't bothered who got the FIFA role because
but that's another good example that everyone would have known about because all saw.
But let's put it this way: no one can be as evil and as twisted as Mr. Sepp Blatter, can they?
No, but
he was
again,
the most awful.
He's another guy who, not football minded. I didn't know who the two people were going up for the FIFA presidency. I was just so what kind of footballing background do they have? Oh, he's a successful businessman.
And I just think people need to get their head out the clouds. We need to move with the times at the Football Association, and they need to come up into the 21st century because they're still stuck in the 1980s and 70s. It's not good enough at the moment. The FA's being run by dinosaurs. it needs to be arranged, and that is my simple opinion on things.
But yeah, that's where we're going to round it off. So, as I said, feel free to comment your predictions and who you think should have been in the England squad, and who would be, really outside shouts for them. Because I know there'll be some obscure names out there. I've heard some in the past. Some have even made it. Joey Barton and David Nugent. If they can both get a cap, why the hell can't other people? David Nugent technically scored as well, but I'm sure Jermaine Defoe would argue with that, considering it was practically over the line when he touched it. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for joining me, John, as usual. It's been a wonderful debate today.
Yes, it's been a wonderful experience, and we can't wait for next week's show, I'll tell you that now.
And don't forget to join us for extra time, where we will be discussing the Mark Sampson scenario, because I'm going to actually watch the England women's team on the 28th of November, because they're down at the Colchester's Western Home Community Stadium. So I will be actually going to that match, and a good reason for me to talk about it, because I was actually expecting to see Mark Sampson in the dugout, but things have happened, which we will discuss in extra time. So feel free to join us for that. That'll be going up later on in the week.
Yes, and before we go as well, just to remind you, 2 commentary games on the YouTube channel, my YouTube channel this week. On Saturday, it'll be either a toss-up between Tottenham's trip to Huddersfield, or that Manchester City-Chelsea clash. That'll be on Saturday, and on Sunday, we'll have another Clarets match live for you as we travel to Everton. 2:15 kick-off. I'll be on the air about 2 o'clock. Hope you can join me. And just by the way, this weekend's games, the chat facility will not be in use because there have been a lot of people commenting and using bad language. So for a few weeks, the chat facility is null and void. And I'm gonna, until people want to actually use the facility properly, I'm not gonna open it up. So please be warned. Okay. But join us for those 2 games if you can.
Anyway, thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you next week. Cheerio.
Bye-bye now.